support courageous action. All are welcome, regardless of religious background, political persuasion, ethnicity, age, ability, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression. If you have a desire to explore questions of truth and meaning and are respectful of diversity of people and beliefs, you've found kindred spirits here. If you'd like more information about UUFC or Unitarian Universalism, our welcome table greeters will be in the lobby ready to answer your questions. You can find out more about us also by visiting our website. There's a lot going on here. And please join us in the social room for coffee and refreshments after the service. There are, as I said, so many events, but I'd like to just draw your attention to a couple of announcements on the back of your service. The movie with a message this Friday will be Pride 2014. Congregational meeting will be Sunday, June 18th. And also just want to add in between those two, there will be a Pride celebration in downtown Anderson, and our welcoming congregation committee is inviting anyone who would like to join us to come down to Anderson with us on Saturday, June 17th. If you have any questions about trying to carpool or meeting up with us, please see myself or Mel at the door.
Between 2 and 6.
Between 2 and 6, yes.
That's when it is.
I'm going to step in here because we've had a couple of last-minute announcements to make. The first, of course, is next Sunday. We will be having our congregational meeting after the service on June 18th. At that meeting, we will vote on UUFC support for the proposed 8th Amendment, 8th principle. For those of you who are new with us, we have 7 guiding principles that we, as a congregation, and congregations all over the country, we commit ourselves to. And I love the reading of them, so I'd invite you to look in the front of your hymnal when you have a moment and read them. The discussions prior to this vote will happen in the social room on Monday, June 12th, and on Tuesday, June 13th at 5 o'clock. No, excuse me, it's at 5. June 12th is 5 o'clock, and June 13th is 11:30. Ask me afterwards if I need to clarify that. Lastly, you'll be seeing these signs all over the building. They are inviting you to participate in our fundraising yard sale the last Sunday of this month. You will see me about how to do that and the instructions, or you can look at our website, and there's a link that gives you all the information that you need and how to prepare for this yard sale.
Are we selling yards?
Thank you for helping me clarify this. If you've got things in your home that you are not as attached to, or you feel like you need to thin out the stuff that's in your storage, these are the things that we invite you to bring and to sell. The one detail that I didn't share with you is that a percentage of the sales go to the fellowship. 25%. We are asking if you want to do more, that's up to you. We've already got one person who says, whatever I sell, I'll give to the church. So please come and please participate. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sarah McNeil, and I am Secretary of the Board of Trustees at UUFC currently and serve on the membership committee. I am passionate about a few things. The 8th principle being passed as a statement of the UUFC covenant together is one of those things. I was profoundly disappointed a couple of years ago when the congregation voted against putting up the Black Lives Matter flag outside for all to see. It was, as now, a volatile time in our southern community. I understood the fear for our children, our building, our community, though I didn't agree. I heard the All Lives Matter excuses. I was angry, but I moved on. I accepted and I moved on. This time, I'm not so sure I can move on. I don't buy the it's too wordy argument. Wordsmithing is a weak line of reason. Don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. I reject the notion that in a couple years the General Assembly will do something. What I have seen so far is pretty tepid. This community needs to speak up. Will I have to look elsewhere for a community that is truly anti-racist? I'd rather not. Please affirm my faith in this beloved community by voting in favor of the 8th principle. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, since I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Formation, I'd like to take a moment to share some thoughts about the proposed 8th Amendment from the perspective of religious education. Did you know that some UU religious education programs have adopted the 8th principle before the full congregations of which they are part have? Some programs have adopted it even though their congregations haven't done so at all. I'm not the least bit surprised by this. After all, we teach our children about things like anti-racism, multiculturalism, being an ally for the differently abled or the LGBT community all the time. In Spirit Play, we hold up UU heroes and heroines and do civil rights lessons. With our advanced learners and teens, we do social justice work and talk about being the change you want to see in the world or weaving the fabric of diversity. Those are some of the titles of some of the curriculum that we use. When Unitarian Universalist religious educators talk amongst ourselves, you will often hear the comment that we are teaching our kids to be better UUs than we ourselves are. Such sentiment is part lament, part celebration, a mixture of humility and awe. We want our children to do better, be better than us, but it still sometimes blows us away when they are just that. So what does any of this have to do with the 8th principle? Well, let's take a quick look at the 7 principles that we use in our children's classroom. Typical, isn't it? I'm not going to go over them all right now because y'all know these already, right? You got them memorized. These are our principles in somewhat simpler language for the kids because, again, we UUs like to use a lot of words. I've sometimes come across the idea that we don't need the 8th principle because everything it says is already in there somewhere. Kind of like a penumbra, as it were. And we all know how that's working out as a constitutional argument lately. I prefer more intentional, more proactive language. An 8th principle that would simply say, build the beloved community free of racism and oppression. I believe it is better to clearly state things, to explicitly name the thing, in this case, a beloved community free of racism and oppression, that we seek to build. We may not get there ourselves, but when our children and their children look back, they will be able to say, I hope, with pride, that we had the courage to point the way and say, there, that's where we want to go. Where are we? Fancy cooking. Okay, we'll just move on to lighting the chalice then. Oh, no, actually our opening words, then the next thing would be the hymn. So should we just move to the hymn? Okay. I think I've already used a lot of words this morning and you're probably all getting tired of my voice anyway, so. We will please rise as you are willing or able for hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Okay. We found the opening words, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to slip it in for you. I invite you to, we haven't looked at calendar. Do we have a child here? I haven't seen one come in. Okay.
I can do it.
Come on up, Steve. And I invite you as,
Mel says I'm a child, so.
oh, that's excellent. If you'll light our chalice, and if you will help me join in reciting our covenant, I would be grateful.
All right.
You need to start, because I can't remember the first line. Together in a spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to care for one another. Thank you.
I swear we do kind of know what we're doing. Our opening words, or slightly after opening words this morning, are Just as the Winged Energy of Delight by Rainier Maria Rilke, translated by Robert Bly. Just as the winged energy of delight carried you over many chasms early on, now raise the daringly imagined arch holding up the astounding bridges. Miracle doesn't lie only in the amazing, living through and defeat of danger. Miracles become miracles in the clear achievement that is earned. To work with things is not hubris when building the association beyond words. Denser and denser the pattern becomes. Being carried along is not enough. Take your well-disciplined strengths and stretch them between two opposing poles, because inside human beings is where God lives. Which brings us now to our time for all ages, which is for all ages, especially today, since we have no children. This morning's story struck me as one of delight when Elaine was saying that this was the theme for this morning, because it is written by an artist who notes that the inspiration for this book came from her practice of art. I love the practice of drawing and painting, she says, the feeling of brush on paper, the way it sharpens my noticing skills. It made me start to notice in-between moments, the beautiful in-betweenness of things. And that's what this book is about. It is called Neither by Arlie Anderson. Once upon a time, there were two kinds, this and that. These and those. One or the other. Until, honk. What kind are you? I'm both. You can't be both. You must be neither. I'm neither? Neither tried to play this game. You can't play with us. You're not rabbity enough. Neither tried to play that game. You can't play with us. You're not birdie enough. Why don't you find somewhere else? You're not one of us. You're neither. Neither, neither, neither. Where did you come from? Honk. I'm from the land of this and that, but I'm neither. So I'm looking for somewhere else to fit in. This isn't somewhere else, but you will fit in here. Where is here? The land of all. So many different kinds. Come play with us. But I'm different from everyone here. I'm neither red, nor orange, nor yellow, or blue. Exactly. Excuse us. We're from the land of this and that, but we don't fit in at home. We're looking for somewhere else. But you said I was a neither. You said I should go somewhere else. Well, this isn't somewhere else. This is the land of all, and everyone fits in here. Once upon a time, there were many kinds, this and that, somewhat and whatnot, either, very, sort of, just, rather, a little, neither, and both. And all were welcome, leaving the land of this and that. And for those of you who are participating in our summer reading banned book challenge, believe it or not, this is one of them.
Now is the time that we as a community have an opportunity to give generously to the work of this church and to the work out in the community. I invite you now, if you will, to share with us. And we don't have kids to take up food, but we got people who can do it. I invite Steve and...
Everybody do it themselves.
Okay, there you go. We have one joy and concern today, but actually it's a joy. Steve, Afragola, thank you. And his band's group is going to be here on sometime in August. They've got to set the date yet. But his band and will provide for us an evening of fun and music, and we invite you all to come. It's going to be a fundraiser for the church, and we'll have snacks and drinks and everything afterwards, so I invite you to come, and tell your friends to come.
It'll be 2 evenings, hopefully.
Oh, that's right. 2 evenings. Yeah. Okay, and there's one for those people who are not with us today, those who are in their homes. We know that we are holding you in our hearts for your joy or your concern. But we also want to hold up a stone for those people who are in our community today, as part of our congregation, who prefer to keep their joys or concerns silent. Thank you. Oh, I gave you the order of service and I didn't. Our apologies for the confusion of the shifting and all this paper and everything. I didn't have the notebook that you normally put this stuff in, so we're kind of all out of discombobulated. So thank you for your patience. Excuse me, that's still not the right one. Anyway, I'll take a breath. Now is the time that we have an opportunity to sit quietly, to meditate, or just to hold silence in our head. in these strange and often unsettling times, there is a lot of change and confusion in the air. There may be also precious moments. Let us be silent with those. Give thanks for those joys and pleasures we have known, moments of love and friendship and camaraderie. Experiences of wonder and delight, reassured and relieved, bursts of playfulness, spontaneity, and generosity. Amen. We have a video I want to show you before we start our sermon this morning. I found it when I was researching for my homily that I was going to be giving today, and I played it several times. Ready? The sound's not there. Isn't she marvelous? Every time, I have to confess, I watched this thing over and over as I was writing my homily for today, just because those moments where I got distracted or too tired and couldn't think of what the next thing to write. I would turn her on, and I would dance with her in my little house. And I got the energy back up, and I sat down, and I continued writing.
Did you by any chance film yourself doing that?
Oh, not on your life, sweetie. Particularly when you got the part of bottoms up. I don't think so. For the sake of our conversation this morning, I'm going to call her Sally. I don't know what her name is, but she is a prize. I have a couple of questions I want to ask you. What emotion did you feel as you were watching Sally dance? Think about that. Joy? What else? Neither? Delightful? Glee. Okay, that's a good word. What else? Anybody over here? Exuberance. That's a good word. Anybody else?
Ripple drifts.
What?
Ribald.
Oh, ribald. Yeah, that fits as well. What about her facial expressions when they actually became part of her choreography? I think that was also an opportunity for us just to laugh and feel a part of what she's doing. The interesting thing is that about when we got to the thumbs back and the bottom up, I think at that point, that little girl could have cared less about her audience. She was living right in the moment of her joy.
She was in the zone.
She was in the zone, absolutely. If we had shown this to Joseph Campbell, excuse me, you wanted to say something.
But also, the girl next to her was so embarrassed.
Yeah. That's true.
I kept thinking about her.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. That is another viewpoint that needs to be said in this particular situation. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious, did everybody but me get the words? I never got one word.
Okay. It's arms back, thumbs up, knees apart, feet apart, knees together, bottom up, tongue out, eyes closed, turn around. So she did each one of those steps as they were calling them out. I apologize, I didn't think about that. Yeah. What about you? Did you hear it? Good, good. I'm glad. What I was getting ready to say is if we'd shown this to Joseph Campbell, I'm sure that he would have said that Sally had found her bliss.
Yeah.
It's plain as the expression on her face that she has indeed found her happy place. At the beginning, she was aware of her audience. She curtsied and said, "I'm here." But about 2 or 3 motions into that song, she forgot about her audience. They weren't there anymore. And she was living in her space of happiness. Sally's joy is obviously present in that moment. Delight, on the other hand, she might have felt, but it was more the audience's feeling of delight. We were charmed by her. As grassroots, excuse me, I missed my line. Delight is mostly a fleeting thing. It's ephemeral and temporary. Let me switch gears just a little bit. As some of you know, I worked for the Sierra Club for several years. I was a grassroots organizer and trainer, part of a team that traveled around the country preparing volunteers to lobby for environmental protection. Our committee met once a quarter to plan training events. One of the best aspects of the job is we met in some truly gorgeous places. The facilities we stayed in may not have been first class, but the scenery was definitely so. One of the examples of the places that we went was Ghost Ranch in New Mexico. It's a primitive little place, unless it's been proved since I've been there. But outside the window, you could see Georgia O'Keeffe paintings, all of the mesas and hills in that area. In fact, she lived in a little town called Abiquiu that was just down the road from Ghost Ranch. So this was part of her daily artwork, if you will. Our committee met on a quarterly basis to plan upcoming training events. As you might imagine, we invariably ended up bemoaning the fact that we were working inside when the environment surrounded us. We were working for environmental change, but we were not being a part of it. We developed a practice that we call seizing the moment, when one of our group would trumpet, "Aha!" As we did, and so we did not hesitate after that. We'd jump up out of our seats and go outside to better experience a spectacular sunset, a mama bear guiding her cub across a distant meadow, or a hawk floating on an air current just outside our window. These breaks were essential to maintaining our energy. We did not hesitate. The moment might be lost. When delight is present, it can be breathtaking. Nothing else feels better or seems worthy of our attention. but delight can also be fickle. It can be gone in an instant. Joy, on the other hand, is a constant. It's possible to experience joy in difficult times as well. It's possible to know joy and feel joy in spite of grief and uncertainty. Joy doesn't need a smile in order to exist. The true definition of joy goes beyond the limited explanation presented in the dictionary. Quote, a feeling of great pleasure and delight, end quote. It requires the utmost surrender, like love. It is a choice to be made. Joy is not simply a feeling that happens. There are those who say joy is an underlying truth that good or bad circumstances can dictate. There will be others who think oppositely, that joy is just a state of mind, the outcome of mind seeking delight and focusing on pleasure, pleasant thoughts, and pleasant experiences. Although joy does feel better with a smile, joy can share with other emotions, sadness, fear, anger, but delight cannot. Joy blooms through connection. It's what the whole nature wants for us. The other connection is that with other people, but it can also be in nature and in the midst of creativity. I find my sweetest joy every morning when my black lab hops up on my bed, puts her head on the pillow beside mine, and very persistently reminds me that it's time to get up. It gets me laughing every time. I wake up with joy every time. It's a wonderful way to start the day. Joy is present inside every one of us as an untapped reservoir of potential. The true joy is present in every moment. Delight, however, is ephemeral and temporary. It's mostly just passing through. Despite the differences of perspective, the idea that holds great sway today is that experiencing delight depends on external factors. Happiness happens to us. Even though we may seek it, desire it, or pursue it, feeling of delight is not a choice that we make. It is a moment in time that is captured in our hearts and our minds. Elation, jubilation, exultation. Was that your word? Somebody over here said it. Our emotions that may be present with joy. That may seem like an expression of joy, but they cannot define joy. In this truest expression, joy transforms difficult times into blessings, turns heartache into gratitude. Joy brings life. Joy brings life to life. Happiness doesn't bring joy, and joy isn't the byproduct of delight. Joy is simply grander than delight. When we find joy, it is infused with pleasure. It is an attitude of the spirit and heart. In choosing joy, there is hope. With joy, hardship offers growth and opportunity. With joy, esteem and self-respect are indestructible. So far, it may seem that my homily is more about joy. I confess that when I researched this, I found more information about joy than I did delight. But let us focus a moment on delight. In my research, I came across a book entitled The Book of Delight. The author is Ross Gay, a professor, an essayist, a poet, and a recipient of numerous awards for writing. For his book, Gay undertook a year of writing every day about delight, some delight that he experienced. Out of 365 days, he successfully completed 300. 210 are published in this book. The delights that he discovered and shares range widely in comparison. Carrying a tomato seedling through an airport and a flight home, and the responses evoked air staff, other passengers and people passing in the terminal. There's a bewildering tale about his father telling him and his brother about the windshield button that has something that looks like a flower on it. And the boys kept wanting to push it, and he says, "You can't push that button because if you do, the car will be covered with flowers." And we couldn't get in it. Possibly my favorite essay that he wrote is about Gay himself, as he learns about a state of feeling annoyed. All of the moments he brings delight, which is as contagious as his smile and his demeanor. Contagious can be a good thing, despite of what our recent experiences have been. Even though Gay wrote and published his book during the pandemic, he was able to write it, publish it in the midst of COVID, and go quickly to the top of the New York Times book list. People were buying his book, perhaps because of the experience they were having with COVID. They needed delight. We need delight. What we noticed was it lifted up their awareness. It infects their whole life, the next day and the preceding day and the days after that. As Gay observes, the more we study something, the more there may be something to study. What we record for ourselves and others, we begin to notice more, amplifying its presence for us. In this day and time, we easily focus our energy on each day's crises. When we do so constantly, tragedy becomes a part of the warp and web of who we are. It can bind us to the world's pain. Our focus becomes on not being sad, on sadness rather than joy. Even if we are poets or essayists or even journal jotters, these are things we can amplify in our own mind and in our own things. They wither because we don't notice them. It is as if each of us keep a night journal, a book that writes of pain. The way we reflect on the days that just passed, the days we remember and dwell upon as we lie in our beds, these affect the day that comes. They hone our radar in the same way that Gay honed his delight radar. What radar are we honing by what we notice in our daily lives and by what we tell others and talk about and dwell on? What do you notice as you reflect on your days? Do you make a list of things you didn't do and that you'll have to do tomorrow? Do you look back on the best moments you had, like sweet conversations with a 2-year-old, or that first sip of coffee sitting out on your deck in the morning, just watching the world unfold? Or do you remember all the mistakes that you've made and torment yourself by playing them over and over in your mind? I remember during the COVID isolation when self-talk for me as for others became such a percentage of my conversation, particularly for those like me who live alone. It was a time when what we said to ourselves was even more impactful than normal. The massive surge in sales of the Book of Delight during the pandemic argues that Ross Gay kind of knew what he was talking about. When he focused his attention on delight, he gave it more presence in his life and more power. It might have been interesting to hang out in his mind at the end of that year as he wrote that book. In reading the Book of Delight, he taught me that we should learn to seize those opportunities like my group did with the Sierra Club, to watch nature unfold around us, to watch little girls dance. And we should and what little girls dance. I'm going to invite you now to go back to your thought when she was dancing, or something that may have occurred to you as I was talking today. I'm going to invite you to think of that motion. And I'm going to invite you, anyone who feels called to do so, to come up and tell us in short words, what the delightful moment, what the joyful moment that you most remember. And I invite you, if you're willing to do so, to come up and share it with the group. We're going to do it here so that the folks can hear us from home.
A recent one for me was the first pictures of my new great-granddaughter.
Oh, wonderful.
A recent one for
Can you
me.
speak up just a little bit?
A recent one for me definitely has to be watching my best friend Flynn graduate high school up in Waynesville, North Carolina. That was a big one.
Put this up a little bit. Anybody else?
This is an old one for me, but we were in Paris and getting off the metro and walking down the street and turning a corner, and there was the Eiffel Tower. And I didn't expect it.
Wonderful.
Oops. Well, after living in the city for 6 noisy, congested years, I grew basil enough to harvest a leaf yesterday and use it in marinara sauce.
After growing my beard, I figured out that I can exist in the rebel world being a Connecticut Yankee.
Anybody else? I have one more story to show you. I don't have the video of it, but one of the other videos that I found of a little girl, she was playing t-ball with her friends. And miraculously, because she had swung and swung and swung, she hit a line drive right between the second and the third base, and she took off running. And she ran and she ran and she ran. She went from first base to second base, and she got to third base, and there was this dog that walked across in front of her. And it sat down. And she forgot that she was supposed to run. And everybody was saying, go, go, go. And she looked at the people up there, and she looked at the dog. And she looked at the people, and she looked at the dog, and she went and sat down by the dog. That was a joyful thing. But Sally takes the cake. If you'll join me now in singing "'Tis a Gift to Be Beautiful," is a gift to be good. It's a gift to be delightful. Thank you.
That's a cool one.
Huh?
That's a cool one.
It is a cool one. It is. It felt like it was out of place in our service today. As we sit and wait for Corey to play his beautiful music again. I want to thank you for being here today. I want to say that the light we carry within us from this chalice, and I will extinguish it, but I'll invite you to carry the light of joy in your heart. And I wish you moments of delight. One we can make, the other comes to us at its own opportunity. Thank you for being here. May you carry this light in your heart. May you shine it in our community until we are here together again. Thank you.